There are those who pack their bags on purpose, knew exactly what they chose, walked away from everything familiar and pulled shut every close. Traded the familiar table for a foreign nameless town. Spent the inheritance of better days on anything that numbed them down. Built a life around the distance, learned the language of the lost, told themselves that freedom had no invoice and no cost. And for a season, the forgetting had a flavor and a shine, and the running felt like living. For a season, for a time, ran as far as running goes, ran past every line, ran into the arms of everything that promised but wasn't mine. Ran through all the reasons and came out the other side, and found you standing at the edge of everywhere I tried to hide. I ran, but you never left. But you never moved. Every road I took to lose you was a road you already knew. I ran from you, but you never left. The parties have a ceiling and the pleasure has a floor, and the ones who chase the living hard enough find out what it's for. Not the feeling that was promised, but the hollow that remains when the music stops and everyone goes home and silence reigns. There is a specific emptiness belonging to the one who chose the far country deliberately and watched the choosing run its course, and found that everything the distance had to give was a demonstration of the only place they wanted to live. Ran as far as running goes, ran past every line, ran into the arms of everything that promised but wasn't mine. Ran through all the reasons and came out the other side, and found you standing at the edge of everywhere I tried to hide. I ran, but you never left. But you never moved. Every road I took to lose you was a road you already knew. I ran from you, but you never left. Yeah. There is a moment in the pig pen that no running can avoid, where the sum of all the leaving leaves the leaver unemployed. Of every last excuse, of every justifying thought, and what remains is just the wreckage of the life the distance bought. And in that broken clearing, something ancient breaks the ground. Not condemnation, not the tallying of everything unfound, but a memory of a table and a father and a door, and a sudden devastating knowledge that the love was always more than the leaving could exhaust, than the distance could erase, than the years of chosen absence could remove from its own place. And the road that led away from everything begins to turn, and the one who ran discovers there was never need to earn. Every mile away was a mile he knew. Every door that closed behind the running was a door he watched close and waited. The porch was never empty. The road was always watched. And when the running stopped, he was already moving. He was already running back. There is a kind of loss that doesn't come in pieces, comes in waves, that strips the life down past the bone and past the early graves of what was taken first: the health, the wealth, the name, the plan, till what remains is barely recognizable as a man. The table that was full grew quiet in a single season. The voices that surrounded disappeared without a reason. And the ones who stayed the longest stayed just long enough to say that surely something hidden must have brought this on his way. When there was nothing left to offer and nothing left to lose, when the last familiar comfort had run out of things to choose, when the ash heap was the address and the silence was the sound, when I had nothing left, that's where you found me on the ground. Not with answers, not with the reason, not with the reasons, not with explanations clean, but with presence in the rubble of the places in between. The losing and the living, the ending and the more. When I had nothing left, you walked in through the door. There are people who have prayed with everything they had inside, who brought the full accounting of their sorrow, nothing to hide, who laid the whole wreckage out before the altar in the dark and heard nothing but the sound of their own devastated heart. And the friends who came to comfort made the wound a little worse, turned the suffering to sermon, turned the sorrow into verse, about what must have caused it and what lessons should be learned, while the one inside the ashes just continued there and burned. When there was nothing left to offer and nothing left to lose, when the last familiar comfort had run out of things to choose, when the ash heap was the address and the silence was the sound, choices in between, the losing and the living, the ending and the more. When I had nothing left, you walked in through the door. Job demanded an audience, and heaven answered in a storm, not with the explanation that his suffering would conform to something logical and tidy, with a moral and a bow, but with a presence so enormous that the questions had to go. Because sometimes God's response to the unanswerable pain is not a reason, but a revelation of His name. Not the why of what was taken, but the who that still remains. When everything removable has been removed, He still sustains. And what Job found in the whirlwind was not doctrine but a face, not theology assembled, but the raw and unmitigated grace of a God who showed up personally into the specific grief. And that showing up, not the explanation, was the relief. The bottom was not the end, it was the address, the place He came to specifically. Not after the rebuilding, not after the restoration. In the ash, in the silence, in the nothing right there, He was already there.
There are furnaces that aren't built from brick and burning wood, that are constructed out of circumstance, misunderstood. Pressures that increase until the temperature becomes the only thing that's real, and everything familiar numbs. Some were thrown in for refusing to bow down to what was wrong, for holding to a conviction when conviction costs too long, for standing in the public square and naming what was true, while everything around them turned to flame and burning blue. The command came from the highest place and left no room to breathe. And the ones who wouldn't compromise were given to the heat. Not a metaphor, not a trial, with a guaranteed reprieve. Just the furnace and the fire, and the choice of what to believe. Even in the fire, not abandoned, not alone. Even when the heat was 7 times what flesh and bone could own, the ones inside the burning didn't smell of what they'd walked through, because the fourth man in the furnace made the fire pass right through. Even in the fire, he was already there, not waiting at the exit, not watching from the air, but walking in the middle of the flame beside the 3. Even in the fire, that is where he chose to be. There are people in the furnace of a suffering not chosen, of a diagnosis, of a verdict of a world that won't relent, who had prayed for the deliverance and found the door still frozen, and began to read the silence as the signal that he went. The abandonment that suffering constructs is very convincing, has the texture of the truth, has the weight of something real. And the ones inside the burning spend their energy in wincing at the gap between the doctrine and the actual ordeal. But Nebuchadnezzar looked into the fire and saw the fall, and what he witnessed in the burning shook him to the core. Not 3 men barely surviving in a compromised endure, but 3 men walking freely with a presence he had not seen before. Even in the fire, not abandoned, not alone. Even when the heat was 7 times what flesh and bone could own, the ones inside the burn didn't smell of what they walked through, because the 4th man in the furnace made the fire pass right through. Even in the fire, he was already there, not waiting at the exit, not watching from the air, but walking in the middle of the flame beside the 3. Even in the fire, that is where he chose to be. The miracle was not that the fire was made to disappear. The miracle was presence in the place that generated fear, that the God who could have stopped chose instead to enter in, to walk among the burning as the 4th among the 3 within. And the ones who came out standing had no evidence of flame, no singed edge, no smoke embedded, nothing marking where they came, as if the fire recognized the limit of its reach, when the one who set the boundaries of heat walked within its breach. So the furnace in the present tense, the one without a name, the one that has no Bible story, no chapter and no frame, is not outside his jurisdiction, not beyond his willingness to find. The ones inside the burning that he never left behind, they came out and they did not smell fire, not because the fire wasn't real, but because someone walked through it with them. And whatever he walks through loses its power to mark the ones he walks beside. He was in there. He is in there. Even now. Even now.
There are people who were handed strength before they asked for it, who learned that needing anything was something to omit.
from the version of themselves the world was given right to see, who built a reputation how to manage misery, carried every broken thing behind a steady jaw, solved the problems quietly according to their law of self-sufficiency, the gospel of the handled and the fixed. We're asking for assistance, and the weakness got mixed, and the system worked or seemed to for a reasonable while, kept the structure standing through a cultivated smile, till the weight that had been managed found a way to override every wall that had been built to keep the breaking inside. I tried to be strong when the strong ran out, tried to keep the ceiling up through every wall of doubt, tried to be the answer to the questions no one asked, tried to hold the everything and finally collapsed, and in the falling found a word that had been waiting long. Come to me, you heavy ones, you weary, you who try to be strong. The yoke you built yourself was never what was meant to fit. Lay it down and rest in this. There is a pride that wears the costume of responsibility, that calls the need for help a failure of ability, that reads surrender as defeat and vulnerability is loss, and slowly builds a fortress with exhaustion as the cost. The ones around them never knew the infrastructure strain behind the competence, behind the managed and maintained. How many nights it took to reconstruct the face for mourning, how the holding on had quietly become its own kind of mourning. Because strength performed for long enough forgets it was a choice, and the one performance starts to lose the sound of their own voice. Underneath the function, underneath the role and the demand, till the person and the performance cannot tell where they both stand. I tried to be strong when the strong ran out, tried to keep the ceiling up through every wall of doubt, tried to be the answer to the questions no one asked, tried to hold the everything and finally collapsed, and in the falling found a word that had been waiting long. Come to me, you heavy ones, you weary, you who try to be strong. The yoke you built yourself was never what was meant to fit. Lay it down and rest in this. The invitation wasn't come when you have sorted yourself out. Come when the performance has been polished beyond doubt. It was come as you were carrying, come exactly in the breaking, come in the middle of the trying and the aching. Because the rest was never offered to the ones who had arrived. It was offered to the ones who barely had survived. Another day of holding what was never theirs to hold. Another night of carrying a weight they had been sold. It's their responsibility, their burden, their design. But the one who spoke the invitation drew a different line. Said the yoke I offer fits, said the burden I provide is the kind that carries you, not crushes from inside. The strongest thing ever done by
by the ones who tried to be strong was the moment they stopped, put it down and said, I cannot, and heard back, I know, come here, rest.
There are nights that stretch beyond the clock and into something else, when the ceiling of the bedroom feels like the edge of hell, when the words sent up in prayer dissolve before they form, and the silence that returns is heavier than the storm. The kind of night that David knew when he wrote, how long, when the question had no answer and the answer had no song, when the face of God felt hidden and the enemy felt near, and the faith that held through daylight started trembling in the fear. Not the dramatic crisis with a visible breaking point, but the slow erosion of the sense of the anoint, the gradual withdrawal of the feeling and the warmth, till the soul is left with nothing but the doctrine and the form. The night I couldn't feel you was the longest night of all. Not the falling in an instant, but the silence of the fall. Prayed until the language broke and nothing would come through. The night I couldn't feel you, I still needed to be true, because feeling is a weather, and the weather always turns, and the faith that only functions when the presence clearly burns is a faith untested, shallow, built on sensation and the glow. The deeper faith is what remains when all of that must go. Doubt is not the opposite of faith, it is the interior of it, the place where faith gets honest about everything it's missed, where the certainties get questioned and the foundations get examined, and what survives the questioning is what was always fixed. There are saints who walk through decades of the absence of the felt, who kept the altar burning while the coldness wouldn't melt, who preached the warmth on Sundays while the private winner stayed, and held the congregation's hand while their own assurance frayed. And history remembers them as pillars, as the strong, not knowing that the pillar spent his private hours in the long and aching conversation with the silence that persisted, and chose to stay regardless, and by staying still existed. The night I couldn't feel you was the longest night of all. Not the falling in an instant, but the silence of the fall. Prayed until the language broke
and nothing would come through. The night I couldn't feel you, I still needed to be true. Because feeling is a weather, and the weather always turns. And the faith that only functions when the presence clearly burns is a faith untested, shallow, built on sensation in the glow. The deeper faith is what remains when all of that must go. Psalm 13 begins with how long and ends with I will sing. Not because the silence broke, but because trust is not a feeling. David moved from lament to praise inside a single breath. Not because the circumstance improved, but because faith outlasts the death of sensation, of the warmth of the evidence and sign. And the ones who praise in darkness draw a very different line between the God who is and the God who can be felt. Because the God who is remains regardless of what's dealt. So the night without the feeling is not evidence of gone. It is the specific training ground that faith is built upon. And the ones who held through hollow found on the other side a knowing deeper than the feeling, something that feeling cannot provide. He was there in the night that felt like nothing, not felt but there. And the faith that survived that night became something that no feeling could have built alone. Silence was not absence, it was foundation. And what was built on it never moved again.
Posture develops over years of carrying, a permanent curvature of spine and soul from bearing everything that landed without asking for permission, every weight assigned by life without a clear admission. The ones who carry quietly develop certain habits, reroute the conversation when it gets too close to real. Learn to minimize the burden so nobody has to grab it. Learn to say I'm fine with such conviction they almost feel. And the carrying continues, and the load gets quietly heavier, and the smile gets more rehearsed with every passing year. And the distance between who they are and what the mirror offers grows into the kind of gap that only breaks can make appear. Carried it alone through every sleepless, heavy season. Carried it alone past every rational and reason, past the point where carrying made sense or could be done. Carried it alone until the carrying came undone. And somewhere in the wreckage of the strength that finally scattered, heard a voice that cut through everything that hurt and everything that mattered. Casted every piece of it on me, for I have care for you. Carried it alone until learning I never had to. Anxiety is weight before the future even arrives. It borrows from the damage of imagined other lives, loads the present moment with the freight of what might come, till the now becomes impossible beneath the sun of every fear tomorrow and every unresolved today. Every conversation that went wrong and wouldn't go away, every financial pressure and relational unknown, every silence from the ones who should have called but hadn't phoned. And the body keeps the record of the years of unreleased, every tension held in shoulders that was never quite decreased. What began as manageable compounded into stone, a monument to everything they tried to bear alone. Carried it alone through every sleepless, heavy season. Carried it alone past every rational and reason, past the point where carrying made sense or could be done. Carried it alone until the carrying came undone, and somewhere in the wreckage of the strength that finally scattered, heard a voice that cut through everything that hurt and everything that mattered. Casted every piece of it on me, for I have cared for you. Carried it alone until learning I never had to. The instruction was not manage it more carefully next time, was not develop better systems, was not build a stronger spine, was cast, which is a violent word, a word of full release, a word that means to throw it hard and walk away in peace. Because God was not requesting a politely handed burden, was not asking for the organized and the already sorted through. He was asking for the unmanageable, the certain and the uncertain, the catastrophic and the trivial, every last piece from you. And the ones who finally cast it found the strangest thing occurred. Not that life became uncomplicated or that every prayer was heard, but that the weight distributed to shoulders not their own became the proof that nobody was ever meant to carry it alone. Every piece of it, the reasonable and the shameful, the small anxieties and the enormous griefs, all of it cast, not handed politely, not organized for presentation, thrown, released, and caught by the only one whose shoulders were built for it. Somewhere between the morning routine and the closing of the day, a person learned to fold the real self perfectly away, pressed and tucked beneath the functional, beneath the getting done, beneath the face that meets the world before the world has won. The laugh comes right on cue, the nod arrives exactly placed, the competent and steady version never gets displaced. And nobody at the table reads the weight behind the eyes, because the performance has been perfected over years of practiced lies. Not the malicious kind, the survival kind, the necessary wall, the ones built brick by careful brick so nobody sees the fall. Happening in real time, happening behind the greeting and the grace, while the inside quietly comes apart at an accelerating pace. But you saw me when no one did, saw what was buried underneath the life I never lived.
performed the role. You saw me when no one did. You saw it all. Not the version manufactured for the public in the crowd. Not the testimony polished to be shared and spoken loud. But the 3 a.m., the bathroom floor, the silent falling apart. You saw me when no one did. You saw straight through to the heart. Hagar ran into the wilderness without a plan or name, expelled from everything familiar, carrying a shame. Sat down by a spring alone, invisible to all, and heard a voice that found her in the most specific small corner of the desert that a person could inhabit. And the name she gave to God that day was El Roy, the one who sees. Because the miracle was not the water or the promise or the habit of provision. It was simply being found beneath the trees. And every person since who learned to live inside the unseen, who stopped expecting anyone to notice or to ask, is carried somewhere in the marrow what that desert woman keeps. The knowledge that the invisible is never past his grasp. But you saw me when no one did. Saw what was buried underneath the life I never lived out loud. The unedited, the unperformed, the role. You saw me when no one did. You saw it all. Not the version manufactured for the public and the crowd. Not the public in the crowd. Not the testimony polished to be shared and spoken loud. But the 3 a.m., the bathroom floor, the silent falling apart. You saw me when no one did. You saw straight through to the heart. Visibility was never the condition for his care. He doesn't require an audience to meet somebody there. He moves into the margins, into the overlooked and small, into the ones convinced that they don't register at all. Because Elroy is still his name in every generation. Still the God who finds the ones the room forgot to count. Still reading the interior beneath the public presentation. Still arriving at the spring before the desperate one comes down the mount. And what the world edits out of frame, he frames deliberately. What the crowd steps past, he stops for. What was missed, he finds. The person who dissolved into the furniture of daily was never furniture to him. He sees through different eyes. Nobody noticed. Nobody asked the question. Nobody asked. But in the desert of the invisible, her name was given to the God who found her. Elroy, the one who sees. He sees you. He always has, even here, especially here.
Some endings don't announce themselves with drama or with noise. They arrive on ordinary afternoons and take the voice. The diagnosis on a Tuesday, the call that changed the year, the door that closed so quietly took a month to hear. And the math of what remained felt insufficient for the living. The subtraction so complete it left the ledger bare. Something in the chest decided there was nothing left worth giving, and called it finished, called it done. Before the final prayer, packed the hope away like seasonal things no longer needed. Filed the dream beside the ones that hadn't made it through. Every resurrection promise quietly unheeded, when the evidence of ending was the only thing in view. Thought it was over, thought the story closed its cover, thought the last page had been written and the pen had been laid down. Thought the winter was permanent, that spring had found another. Thought the ship had finally quietly gone down. But endings in the hands of God have never meant what they appear to. The vocabulary of conclusion gets revised and re-engineered, and what was filed under finished, under sealed, underdone, became the first sentence of something that had only just begun. Roots stood in the field of someone else's harvest, someone else's land, gleaning what was left behind by someone else's hand. Everything familiar was a grave marker and a name, and the road ahead looked nothing like the road from which she came. And yet the field she entered broken held the husband and the line that would carry in its bloodstream something of the design that no human eye could read inside that moment of the loss. Because the ending was the doorway, and the doorway had a cost. And Mary at the tomb, before the morning fully broke, mistook the gardener for what he was before he finally spoke. Her name, just her name, and that was all it took to turn the ending she had witnessed to the thing she'd come to learn. Thought it was over, thought the story closed its cover, thought the last page had been written and the pen had been laid down. Thought the winter was permanent, that spring had found another. Thought the ship had finally quietly gone down. But endings in the hands of God have never meant what they appear. The vocabulary of conclusion gets revised and re-engineered, and what was filed under finished, under sealed, underdone, became the first sentence of something that had only just begun. Every tomb in sacred history became a door. Every valley floor became the ground that something grew up from before. The story caught its breath and turned in directions no one mapped. And what the morning called an ending, grace called an overlap. Between the chapter that had closed and something not yet named, between the loss that left them hollow and the future being framed in the workshop of a God who recycles every broken end into the raw material of something he intends. So the thing that felt like final was a comma, not a period. The silence between movements, not the stopping of the song. And the ones who thought the curtain fell discovered something serious, that God writes the kind of stories that were never meant this long. It looked like over, it had every appearance of done, but the God who invented morning was not finished. He never is. What you call the last page, he called the margin. And in the margin, he was already writing what comes next. There are prayers that leave the mouth and seem to dissolve in the air. Words sent up toward heaven that find nothing waiting there. Not a sign, not a shifting, not a whisper coming back. Just the same bare ceiling and the same familiar crack. Some have knelt until their knees forgot the shape of standing up. Brought the same petition every morning to the same unanswered cup. Wondering if the silence was rejection or just wait. Even without an answer, the altar still gets warm. Even without an answer, the faithful still return. There's a trust that doesn't hinge on hearing something back, a faith that holds its ground even when the sky goes black. Even without an answer, something keeps them there. Not the certainty of outcome, but the certainty of care. The mystery of a God who holds his counsel close is hardest on the ones who need his nearness most. There are hospital rooms where the same verse has been read 100 times, where families have fasted, where the church has stood in lines, and the diagnosis didn't change, the prognosis stayed the same. There are graves that represent a prayer that heaven seemed to deny, and the ones who love them still show up on Sunday, still believe, still carrying the question like a wound that will not leave. Even without an answer, the altar still gets worn. Even without an answer, the faithful still return. There's a trust that doesn't hinge on hearing something back, a faith that holds its ground even when the sky goes black. Even without an answer, something keeps them there. Not the certainty of outcome, but the certainty of care. The mystery of a God who holds his counsel close is hardest on the ones who need his nearness most. Job demanded an audience, then heaven showed up in a storm, not with explanations, but with questions of its own. And what came out of that encounter wasn't answers, wasn't proof, just a man who met the Maker and was never quite the same.
from his side. Not the healing that was wanted, but a grace to bear the weight. There is a kind of knowing that only silence can produce. Some things only grow in souls that walk through unanswered fires. Even without an answer, the altar still gets warm. Even without an answer, the faithful still return. There's a trust that doesn't hinge on hearing something back, a faith that holds its ground even when the sky goes black. Even without an answer, something keeps them there. Not the certainty of outcome, but the certainty of care. The mystery of a God who holds his counsel close, is hardest on the ones who need his nearness most. Some prayers come back as silence, some silences come back as something else entirely. Not the answer that was asked for, but a presence that outlasts the question.
There are prayers that leave the mouth and seem to dissolve in the air. Words sent up toward heaven that find nothing waiting there. Not a sign, not a shifting, not a whisper coming back. Just the same bare ceiling and the same familiar crack. Some have knelt until their knees forgot the shape of standing up. Brought the same petition every morning to the same unanswered cup, wondering if the silence was rejection or just wait. Even without an answer, the altar still gets worn. Even without an answer, the faithful still return. There's a trust that doesn't hinge on hearing something back, a faith that holds its ground even when the sky goes black. Even without an answer, something keeps them there. Not the certainty of outcome, but the certainty of care. The mystery of a God who holds his counsel close is hardest on the ones who need his nearness most. There are hospital rooms where the same verse has been read 100 times, where families have fasted, where the church has stood in lines, and the diagnosis didn't change, the prognosis stayed the same.
There are graves that represent a prayer that heaven seemed to deny, and the ones who love them still show up on Sunday, still believe, still carrying the question like a wound that will not leave. Even without an answer, the altar still gets warm. Even without an answer, the faithful still return. There's a trust that doesn't hinge on hearing something back, a faith that holds its ground even when the sky goes black. Even without an answer, something keeps them there.
Something keeps them there.
Not the certainty of outcome,
The certainty of care.
the mystery of a God who holds his counsel close, is hardest on the ones who need his nearness most. Job demanded an audience, and heaven showed up in a storm, not with explanations, but with questions of its own. And what came out of that encounter wasn't answers, wasn't proof, just a man who met the Maker and was never quite the same. Paul asked 3 times for the thorn to be removed from his side, not the healing that was wanted, but a grace to bear the weight. There is a kind of knowing that only silence can produce. Some things only grow in souls that walk through unanswered fires.
Even without an answer,
The altar still gets worn.
even without an answer,
The faithful still return. There's a trust that doesn't hinge on
hinge on
hearing something back,
a faith that holds its ground.
even when the sky goes black. Even without an answer,
Something keeps them there.
something keeps them there.
Not the certainty of outcome,
But the certainty of care, the mystery
of a God
who holds his counsel close, is hardest on the ones
who need
his nearness most. Some prayers come back as silence, some silences come back something else entirely, not the answer that was asked for, but a presence that outlasts the question.
Woke up this morning couldn't lift my head. Felt like the whole world was pressing on my chest instead. Bones like broken timber, spirit barely breathing. Every prayer I whispered felt like it wasn't reaching. Been carrying this burden since before the sun came up. Poured out every ounce I had, still they fill my cup with more sorrow, more trouble, more weight I couldn't bear. Fell down on my knees and I just left it all right there. I said, Lord, I got nothing left to give. Not a drop of fight, not a reason left to live this hard. My hands are shaking, my road has gone dark. Something's gotta hold me, 'cause I've lost my own heart. When my strength ran dry, when the well went hollow,
When tomorrow looked like
something I couldn't follow,
when my legs gave out
on that long and dusty road, he stepped in and carried what I couldn't hold. When the fire went cold and the night refused to break, when I'd given everything I had left to give and take, his arms came around me like a river, deep and wide. When my strength ran dry, he became my tide. Sat down by the roadside, shoes worn through the sole. Felt the wind of emptiness blow straight into my soul. Didn't have a hymn left, didn't have a song, just a broken silence where my courage used to belong. Memories of better days felt further than the stars. Every scar I carried seemed to multiply the scars. But something in the stillness started moving like a breath, a whisper in the wreckage pulling life from what felt like death. I said, Lord, my hands won't stop that trembling, and my voice is just a fragment of what used to be whole. The walls I built for shelter, they've been crumbling, but somehow you keep reaching for this weathered soul. When my strength ran dry, when the well went hollow,
when tomorrow looked like
something I couldn't follow,
when my legs gave out
on that long and dusty road, he stepped in and carried what I couldn't hold. When the fire went cold and the night refused to break, when I'd given everything I had left to give and take, his arms came around me like a river, deep and wide. When my strength ran dry, he became my tide. I used to think that weakness was a thing to be ashamed, that falling meant the ending, that broken meant the blame. But glory lives in ruins and mercy walks through mud. He finds his finest vessels in the ones poured out of blood. So let me be an empty jar, a hollow cracked up thing, 'cause only what is empty makes the room for what he brings. I've seen enough of my own power to know it turns to dust. The only strength worth standing on is built on holy trust. Not the mountain that I conquered, not the distance that I ran, not the battles I survived alone, not my well-laid plan, but every single moment when I whispered, I give in. That's where his unending, ever-flowing grace stepped in. When my strength ran dry, when the well went hollow,
when tomorrow looked like
something I couldn't follow.
His arms came around me like a river, deep and wide. When my strength ran dry, He became my tide. I didn't walk out of the valley. I was carried, every step that felt like mine. Had His hand underneath it, and what I thought was empty ground turned out to be holy.
There's a reputation built on never letting anyone see the cracks, on showing up unshaken with the weight still on the back. The one the family leans on, the one who holds the room, who learned to carry sorrow like it wasn't a costume. God handed strength like a sentence at a very early age, performed it so consistently it calcified the cage. And the ones who called them strong were really saying stay, keep holding what we cannot hold, and never look away. But the strong ones break in private, where the applause can't reach, in bathrooms, in the car ride home, in silences too deep. The image took a lifetime to construct and tend and keep. And underneath the monument, a person short of sleep, because the strength was never theirs to own or manufacture. It was borrowed without knowing from a much larger chapter. And the moment that the borrowed runs completely dry is the moment truth steps forward and refuses to comply. There are people holding families together by the thread of will, who haven't had permission to be anything but still, who swallowed every trembling just to model something solid and called it faith, when really it was fear kept quiet. The world awards the ones who never visibly collapse, who patch the cracks with confidence and cover up the gaps. But what the world calls weakness, heaven reads a different way. The ones who finally admit the limit, those are the ones who pray. But the strong ones break in private, where the applause can't reach, in bathrooms, in the car ride home, in silences too deep. The image took a lifetime to construct and tend and keep. And underneath the monument, a person short of sleep, because the strength was never theirs to own or manufacture. It was borrowed without knowing from a much
larger chapter. And the moment that the borrowed runs completely dry is the moment truth steps forward and refuses to comply. Paul said he boasted only in the things that showed his lack. Moses said his tongue was slow before he led them back. Gideon called himself the least before the angel called him more. Weakness was the doorway every chosen one walked through before. There is no shame residing in the admission of the need. The crack inside the vessel is exactly how it's freed. And the God who lifts the weary doesn't ask for a display. He meets the ones who finally stop performing right where they gave away. The strongest thing ever done by the ones called strong was the day they finally said, I cannot do this alone, and meant it.